Welcome in on a Wednesday. I'm Mugo Odigwe. You've been watching Robert F. Kennedy Jr. testify in his confirmation hearing on Capitol Hill right here on CBS News 24/7. Kennedy is President Donald Trump's pick to lead the Department of Health and Human Services, and senators grilled him over several controversial topics, including comments he made on COVID-19 and vaccines.
Let's be clear about what you've actually done then, since you want to deny your statements. For example, you have a history of trying to take vaccines away from people. In May of 2021, you petitioned the Food and Drug Administration to not only block Americans from having access to the COVID vaccine, but to prevent any future access to the life-saving vaccine. Are you denying that? Your name is on the petition.
We brought that petition after CDC recommended the COVID vaccine without any scientific basis for 6-year-old children. Most experts agree today, even the people who did it back then, that COVID vaccines are inappropriate for 6-year-old children who basically have a zero risk from COVID. That's why I brought that lawsuit. I want to emphasize
Mr. Kennedy, the facts.
The committee will be in order.
And you could hear the commotion there sometimes during that confirmation hearing. CBS News correspondents are covering this hearing from all angles on Capitol Hill and reaction from the White House. But first, let's go to former RNC spokesperson Kevin Sheridan. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us. We know Kennedy clearly looking to defend his record here. So what are you hearing from Republicans?
Well, I think all eyes are on Senator Thom Tillis and Senator Cassidy as the most likely or the most important votes, some of the most important votes at least, because I think Murkowski and Collins, although Collins has been a question mark on Kennedy at least, voted against Hegseth, obviously. So those are still and I think McConnell obviously is a big question mark. He'll probably vote against a couple of these nominees again. So that's the universe that everybody's watching. It doesn't sound, there was some hope that Democrats would come across the aisle on this Kennedy vote. If this hearing is any indication of that, that doesn't look to be likely. They came out very hot. They seemed jilted almost that he left the party or left them. So I don't know. We'll have to see tomorrow's hearing if it's any different. But today it looks like it's going to have to be done with Republican support.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens tomorrow. Kevin, when Kennedy spoke, he promised to be transparent with information if he's confirmed. But lawmakers question if he's even fit for the job, especially, as you mentioned there, from a lot of Democrats. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, they're clearly angry about his vaccine questioning in the past, and he's one of them, though, and so I really feel it felt personal today. Whether or not they actually believe that he's not up to the job, he did stumble in a couple of different places, but overall he was strongest when he got back to his core message of don't we all want to come together and make our kids healthy, make Americans healthy, look at our food supply, look at our soil and our air and our water. That's very appealing. He's got a very big movement behind him. The Maha moms that were in the crowd, that should not be underestimated because it cuts across party lines. It brought people to the polls. It arguably won Donald Trump the election. A lot of formerly non-political, non-voters came out to vote for Donald Trump, I believe, if we look at the polling, based on their support of RFK. So I think they underestimate him at their own peril. They're going to get a lot of calls to their office. They already are. And Republicans are going to have to tangle with the MAGA base if they go against RFK. Donald Trump wants this nominee very badly. So you're going to have to deal with a very mobilized online community and grassroots community that we saw deliver the election for Donald Trump. So they're going to have to weigh the political risks of that, and will be interesting to hear what those questionable senators have to say this afternoon.
All right, Kevin Sheridan, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it. Now, Kennedy had tense exchanges with several Democratic lawmakers. At one point, Nevada Senator Catherine Cortez Masto asked him if he's sold out his values and beliefs to do President Trump's bidding. So let's listen to those remarks.
Would you agree and continue that path of really mandating that big pharma come to the table and negotiate drug prices for Medicare so we can lower those prices for Americans?
My understanding is that the executive order that was issued today, which I haven't seen, but I've read a summary.
But let me ask you this then, because you keep citing the Trump administration and you're just going to follow what they say. Is that what you're doing? You're just a rubber stamp for them in this position? So anybody, so it doesn't matter that you're before us. It could be anybody coming before us as long as they're a rubber stamp for this administration and disregarding your beliefs and what you think. I guess my question to you is, if it really is fundamental to what you believe, how do you live with that? How do you address those issues as you're moving forward,
You want me to
knowing
answer
that
the
it's going to
question,
harm
Senator?
Americans? Yeah.
You want me to answer the question?
No, I'm asking you.
Okay. President Trump has asked me to end the chronic disease epidemic and make America healthy again. And I'm
So
in a
is that the
unique
only reason why
position.
you're at HHS? Is that the
Excuse
only
me.
reason why then you're at the HHS to address that one issue?
President Trump has asked me because I'm in a unique position to end that. And that is what I'm doing. And if we don't solve that problem, Senator, all of the other disputes we have about who's paying, and whether it's insurance companies, whether it's providers, whether it's HMOs, whether it's patients or families, all of those are moving deck chairs around on the Titanic. Our ship is sinking.
Okay, so clearly a very tense exchange there. CBS News White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi joins us now. And Olivia, have you seen or heard any reaction from the White House?
Yeah, Mugo, it's good to be with you. We know that the White House was watching this hearing very closely, as was I, and there was two important exchanges that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. had that I thought were notable, on top of that one he had with Senator Mastro. Second one being where he talked about climate change. Senator Bernie Sanders was pressing him on whether or not he agrees with Trump that climate change is a hoax. RFK Jr. said he disagrees with Trump on that and explained that that's actually a center point of issue that the two of them had of disagreeing. So we know that the White House has been watching this hearing very closely, but that caught my attention specifically in that hearing. We know he went on to be grilled by Democrats not only on his flipping positions on abortion, but also on the measles epidemic back in American Samoa back in 2013. A lot of grilling there from Democrats, but by and large, Republicans seem overwhelmingly pleased with the way RFK Jr. Performed today in front of that hearing.
Okay, Olivia, I want to switch gears here because we have some breaking news out of the White House. Just moments ago, the White House Budget Office pulled the order to freeze federal funding for certain grants and programs. Now, we know this order caused widespread confusion from the very beginning, by the way, and we're waiting to see the response from the White House after a federal judge took action just yesterday.
Yeah, so a lot of action happening here at the White House, as you mentioned. I do want to read a statement we just got from Caroline Leavitt. She is the press secretary here about this order. She says, this is not a rescission of the federal funding freeze. She said it is simply a rescission of the OMB memo that went out. She goes on to say that this happened, this is not a rescission because they want to end any confusion created by the court injunction that we saw yesterday. So complicating all of these issues around the federal funding freeze and all the questions that we had yesterday. You saw in that briefing people asking her to clarify exactly what is being frozen. Is it federal assistance? Is it grants? Is it loans? What does that look like? Does it trickle down to the states? She said she would be providing a list of all of the funds that are impacted from this. We have yet to see that list, but it's important to note that they are taking a look at some of the backlash they received over this EO and this memo, and they're responding to that.
Yeah, and so we also know President Trump has been racking up the executive orders, but in the next hour, he's actually expected to sign the first piece of legislation since he returned to office. So, Olivia, what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's the first piece of legislation he'll be signing, and it is bipartisan. This is something that Congress passed with support from Democrats and Republicans, and it's about immigration, which is obviously a key initiative for Trump. So what this would allow federal officials to do under this new law would be to detain any criminals who are migrants who came into the country that committed crimes, whether that be theft, assault, allow them to detain and start the deportation process earlier. Important to note that this is a bipartisan bill. We'll be watching to see if any Democrats are coming to that signing today. There were rumors that perhaps Senator John Fetterman, who was a big proponent of this bill, is someone who could be coming to the White House today as well.
Okay, CBS News White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi, thank you so much for your time today.